Good afternoon, everyone. Yesterday we looked at one of the most important concepts in Java, that's overloading. Today we are going to continue looking at overloading, whereby we are looking at promotion of parameters. So let's just look by using an example. Here, let's create a class. Now let's call this class demo1. In a demo1, let's create two methods. Void m1 method. This method takes an int as a parameter and I as a parameter. The second method again takes a float as a parameter. Takes a float as a parameter. These two methods are overloaded methods. They have got the same name and they have the same name here. This is the same name in a class, but they are different based on what? Parameters. Now let's try to have something that we can write at the console to differentiate the two methods when we are compiling, when we are trying to demonstrate what do we mean by automatic promotion of parameters in overloading. Now, this is what an int method. Here, in float method. Now, let me just bring in a certain object, creation of certain object. Let's say d dot method 1. There's need for constructor there. There is need for main method there, so that we can call this one. Now, I'm now able to say d dot method 1. We can just pass in int like 3. D dot method, I can pass a what? A float 6.5, 6.8 f. When a compiler is compiling this method, first it checks for an exact match. This one is an int. It checks for any method within this class which match exactly with the int method, being my int method 1. In int method 1, when it is compiling this 6.8 a float, it checks exactly 6.8, exactly a method that matches exactly the 6.8 float. Now let's say I have another parameter that is being passed d dot method, then I end up something like C. This one is the car. Now C is a car. How do the compiler resolve this one. This one is there's no method that exactly matches this character. So what happens is this character is being promoted from a character to an int. When we end a byte here, that byte is being promoted from a byte to a short. From a short to an int, given a condition, there is no method that exactly matches the passed parameter. Let me try to demonstrate like this. If we pass a byte and there's no method that exactly matches that one, it is being promoted to a short. If there is not an exact match, it is promoted to an int. When it doesn't match, it is being promoted to a what? To a long. If there is no any other method promoted, it also being what? Promoted to a float. From a float to a double. It's promoted to a double. The same applies, okay, to a car. If we pass a car here, it is being promoted to an int. This also is being promoted to what? To a short, to an int, from an int to a long, from a long to a what? To a float, from a long to a what? To a double. That's what we call, what is meant by automatic promotion of parameters. Now let's try to demonstrate using a what? Using IntelliJ. Now, let's try to run and find out what is going to be the output on the console. Now, look, exact match here in int method, exact here in the float method. Now, there is no exact method. It's promoted to an int. Let's try another one. Let's say we have passed a long d dot method, then we say for L, this is a long. What will happen? There is no exact match where we have a long as a method here. So this one is being promoted from a long to a float. So in float method is what we are expecting as an output. Let's try and find out what is going to happen. Right, in the float method. Yes. Now, we want to try where we have something like this. What will happen to this one? What will happen to this one? 4.5. By default, 4.5 is a double. There is no method that exactly matches 4.5. But there is no promotion downwards or downgrading of this value from a double to a float. But it's automatic promotion. Compile will promote them to the next level and check whether matches is achieved. Now, this one gives this gives an error. Now, this is an example. Now, let's look at another issue again, whereby we are looking at two. One is a string. The second one is an object. Now, let's say we have a new class. Let's say just to say it's a promotion A. It's a class. We have a string here, a method that takes string as an argument. Let's say M1 methods. What does it take? It takes a string S. Now, there is another method. Object O is a parameter. Now, let's write something on the console and see what is going to happen. In string method. Now, in object method. Let's write something on the console. Let's try to create an object prom equals to new prom promotion A, then pure dot. Let's call the string method our M1 method. Gain now we are now trying to call pr dot M1. Let's say we enter the word new object like this. What is the output? What do we expect to have in our output? Exact match first, meaning to say we are going to have in object method is an output because it matches exactly with the object method M1, which takes object as a parameter. Now, let's say pr dot M1 then takes something like Peter. It's a name. Exact match being a string. In string method. Now let's find out what dot M1. Now let's pass null. The default value for an object and a string, both the string and object is null as default. But here we are passing now for both the object, so it will become something a bit complex. Which one is going to come as an output? Whereas an object is a parent of string. What will happen here is the string method is going to be it is the one that takes as the resolving method. Why? Because it's a child. Everything is taken by the child. Priority is taken as a child. If you are able to complete at lower level, it is able to complete the resolution at the lower level. Therefore, this one is a string. In string method, not because it is written first on the written first here, no, but because string is a child of object. So child first, then parent second. The idea is child first, parent second. Now, let's try to combine and find out what is that correct. Now, let's look at it. Now here in object method, in string method, in string method. Now, let's look at another issue again. Let's say we have an object here. This is an object. We have an object here. Object here. We have got two children of this child of this object. We have got here, we have got a string. We have a string here. Here we have got a string buffer. String buffer. Now, let's say we have two methods. Here, let's say here is M1 takes a string, then M2 takes string buffer. String buffer is an object. Now, let's remove these ones. Definitely, if we say pr dot m1, then we say new string buffer, then say gems here, then definitely it's going to come as what? In object method. Why? Because we didn't rename here. If we say in string buffer, then therefore here is also going to be string buffer. In string buffer method. Now, here these are children. Look, these are child. Now here we have got two child here, a string and a string buffer. Let's say we are taking this pr dot m1, then we pass. Now what is going to happen? A compile time error. A compile time error. Now, why? Because there is ambiguity. Which method to take? Is it M1 of this string buffer or M1 of this string method? So this one gives an error because both are at the same level. So there is an ambiguity which one to take, as this is also the default value for string buffer. This is also the default value for string. Hope this makes sense, and hope this gives you something that is information for you. Thank you very much.